I traveled so much, I thought, gosh, an hour before a speech, or I'm in a hotel room in Baltimore, I'm free from 7, 8 in the morning, just put it out there to the community. How can I help? And people would show up. A lot of times it was, two people, and it's gotten pretty big depending on what city and where I am. We'll see how Champman works. Um, but the reason I did it was, what would you do? Who do you know? And it's a lot easier in person to have the time. You've been to events, and as much as I want to help people, it's a shit show, but you get to meet other people that can help. And so it's nice to be able to kind of handle that. Now, one thing I've gotten back that I didn't realize, great content. Um, benefit. I think part of the reason my community's grown like it has is because I do this so often. Like I really, whether I'm in Portugal or New York or wherever, it's what people are listening for. That makes a difference in the research I do, which makes a difference in what I talk about. And then people are, going, oh yeah, that makes sense. I wonder how he knew that that's what, I needed or didn't need. So, number one, just want to say thank you for you both showing up. And basically, I start with, how can I be of service, or do you have a question I can answer to start out?
Well, I mean, my primary objective
Yeah.
is working with my son, and we can discuss that. He just signed today with, or he had an offer today, I should say. He hasn't signed it yet with the Mexican majors, the LMP down there.
Yeah.
The Mexicali team, and he thinks that's a good idea. I was wondering if you thought it was a good idea.
Sure. And what day is the cutoff day for the playoffs?
They start the playoffs on the 4th and then go basically to the middle of the month.
Yeah.
That's for the.
If your son was 19, I would tell him no. Right? I'd tell him no, but he knows the league, the teams. He knows where he's at. His agent knows where he's at, and I'm sure there's still some separation of his own beliefs in business to his father, right? And it's interesting. So my intuition tells me, if he thinks it's what he should do, support him, and then figure out through his agent, hey, where does he go from here? And let him explain where he thinks he's going to go from there. Maybe he just wants to play baseball more, right? And as much as you want him back into major leagues, maybe he's come to resolve that he'll allow that to happen, and his numbers speak for themselves.
But the thing I think that he wants is that he wants one more opportunity in the majors.
Yeah.
He's told me recently.
Yep.
And that he needs to continue to exhibit his wares in a way that people can see that it's the benefit that comes from that. And
Yeah, I mean, it's as good as any. It's not that far. And he definitely still has the goods, right? It's going to be a timing and risk tolerance thing for some team. And it's going to be, having a proactive advocate that's, articulating to the scouts what he's doing down there. And he's going to have to build a record down there. So, but I do think that if he thinks it's a good idea at this stage of his career, he's 31. Yeah, I would support him. I don't think, there's a difference from what he's doing now. I think it's more credible if he throws up those numbers down there than what he's doing now. So that's where I see his chance being.
and the money's not too bad down there. It's
No.
MLB money, but it's decent. So
Yeah.
so I think that's what he's going to do. He's going to get one more opportunity in the majors and hopefully do well, and then maybe go to Asia or whatever. And,
Yeah.
make some money.
I can see why he wants to have one more run at that, right? Just the experience of it as well. So that's cool. What has evolved in my life. And so although I was a victim, I wasn't a quitter. And because I wasn't a quitter, because I did my best, I learned lessons, and I had fun, even though I felt many times I was a victim. So many things happened, and I just felt like, why is this happening to me? Why isn't it happening to them? That's a bad person, right? Like all these things. But when I started getting results, I started saying, oh, things happen for me. And I had the results, and then more things happened for me. But to make the ultimate launch into faith of everything happens through me, to truly, and I'm still progressing. I spend minutes and moments, not days, weeks, months, and years outside of faith, that I live in the world of more than enough. It's an incredible thing. So I would double down on performance. If I was living as a victim, I would, fight that the best I could with every day, doing my best, learning lessons from it, and having fun with it. And there'll just be this outcome-based, which is not where you want to be, but an outcome-based reality that, things are happening for me. Now, forgiveness is a way to expedite that. So if you feel you're punished by God, or punished by your mom, or punished by your boss, or punished by circumstance, forgiveness heals that. So that can expedite and relieve some of the interference and resistance that we create ourselves in our own perception. And think about it. X happens, you have three things that you can say, and it's all based off the meaning you give your past. Because that's the only thing that's relative, is I only have some sort of way of determining what this actually means, and I can't make it a meaning of the future. So an omniscient, all-powerful, all-knowing source that loves you more than your mom, protects and promotes you, a unified. So your son going to Mexico, in my past, I'd have been like, oh, that's not fair. He has a 0 ERA. Like even as an agent, I would have been like pissed. But my perspective from what I give meaning of the past is, all right, next question.
I have another question.
Please.
A more specific one. I'm going in production on a micro-budget feature in mid to late September, and we're in pre-production on it now. And I'm playing one of the leads in it, but I'm also part of the production team. And some of the people that I'm working with have decided to expend some resources on some facilities and things like that are beyond the parameters of what the film requires. But they want to basically establish a studio, a soundstage, and so I'm on board with them right now with opening the soundstage in near Olive in downtown LA. And I was wondering, when you're starting a new venture like that, and you start with creatives, and they start to branch out or to assume like facilities and things like that, apart from the main objective, which is this feature. How do you speak to them and make sure that they're staying on task with regards to the main objective or the primary objective?
Yeah, so this is, I create a go, no-go plan, whatever I'm doing, based upon the timing and risk tolerance that everyone in the project has agreed upon. So in this plan, it says, here's what we're going to do Tuesday. All of us, determine on how important the thing is. It would either say everyone, or, just Charlie or David or whoever, will give it a go or a no-go. And so, as this would be, right, obviously you're going to film somewhere. So there was going to be a certain date that a decision would be made according to the timing and risk tolerance of the project and the budget that was present, whether it's you that are funding it or other people that are funding it. And I have found that even in its simplistic form, via email for small things in my life, having a go, no-go plan that just says, hey, Thursday, you and I are going to be doing this, and we're going to decide to move forward or not from here, and sending it in an email. So even when people tell me, that's where calendar invites came from, but I'll lay out beforehand, let's talk through what it looks like today it's going to work, and it will change as you go. But if I was doing a mini or a micro production, that's a significant decision.
Well, our original decision was we had financing at $200,000, but because of the SAG limitations with the strike and everything,
yeah,
they're only approving things that can shoot for under $50,000. So we're deciding to do that. So they want to take some of these resources and expand into a facility and basically take it into a company that produces these micro budget projects. And they facility. These are top level guys, AFI graduates,
Mhm.
graduates, and Academy Award winners and things like that. Top level people. But it seems like their business reach is exceeding their grasp. You know.
Of course.
And I think I don't want to discourage that because, but on the other hand, I want to make sure that this one project, this one film, Glen Nebula that we're starting,
Mhm.
is done successfully.
And it has a line item budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would be an item for a go no go plan is review of the line item budget every 2 weeks or 4 weeks, so that whoever these people who are making the decision to go that way are part and parcel with you, so that you can ask them questions. See, the last thing that you want to do in any of these situations where people get a miss is to express their opinions, because then that, especially with creatives, that creates a defense mechanism. Because as much as you may think they don't have the business acumen that you have, they know that they don't have the business acumen that you have, which creates great fear. And just like you know you may not have the creative acumen that they have, that creates more fear. And so the only way to reduce and dissolve and dissipate and get alignment in whatever that trajectory is for your project is to ask questions about what you would rather, especially as a lawyer, that we'd rather just tell them. And because you are a lawyer, you'll know the power of open-ended and closed-ended questions in order to facilitate making something their idea. So if, for example, they made this decision, I would have called and said, hey, that seems like a great idea, but I have a few questions. So I've already let down the insecurity that I think it's a bad idea. And you don't know whether it's a good idea or bad idea. Right. And so what we want to do is say, hey, I just found out you guys are moving to this facility or whatever it is. I think that's a great idea, but I had a few questions to see if I might be able to help further. And then instead of,
That's a good one.
right, instead of telling them, you're just like, hey, so, you know, what were our options? Considering what's going on with SAG and the strike and the budget that we have, what were the options of why we chose this place? Oh, we don't really have any options. You will hear these kind of things, right? Oh, okay. Would it help you if I found a few other options just to see if we can even do better? Because this is a great idea. All of a sudden, right? Now you become more valuable and you're not attacking me. So I always have two objectives in all situations. And Oliver back there has been trained by me. It's one, deal with an open mind. So if you have a closed mind, I'm dealing with you another time. So by saying, hey, that's a great idea, I don't want to hear it, Charlie. Now I know closed mind. I can't waste my time. It takes 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 times the energy to convince a closed mind. So my first objective is to either open the mind or make sure I have an open mind. Then it's simple. All I do is take that open mind, compliment it, whatever they did. Hey, I heard great things about you. This deal seems incredible. Great decision. Then I go ahead and ask questions, all positives, only to get to one question. Would it help you if? That's the only goal I have. I want to keep asking questions till listening to all that you say. What are you doing today? What do you like about the place? What don't you like about the place? You know, would it help you if I found a different place or got a cheaper lighting, or who knows what you can do? But you're now creating this instead of this. And then what's super cool is if you create that value, you can actually then get to, do you know anyone that can help me? Because this is really what the objective was as far as I saw, you know, can help me to, or can help us meet that objective. If we keep the simple format, whether it's our children, whether it's our spouse, whether it's a multi-billion-dollar business deal that I've been blessed to be involved with, I still use my simple open-ended question guide. And I won't, and when you're dealing with the biggest egos, you definitely don't want to deal with a closed mind. Creatives, they have a different mind, but you know, which side of their mind's open is the question, the left side or the right side. So you need to make sure that you have that open mind. Oliver.
Can you just dive deep into like
Yeah. So we were talking about earlier being a victim in a world of not enough. In a world of just enough, in the world of not enough, people, they transition. A transition only happens when you have a stop to what you're doing. And I think it's a huge, it's a huge resistance creator when we think about athletes transitioning into the business world, or military people transitioning out of the military, or graduating people transitioning into the workforce. That doesn't make any sense to me, because now we're putting the outcome as the value, not the income. So for me, I believe the universe expands, and that being part of that universe, regardless of your religion, philosophy, theory, and spirituality, as far as being part of that, that I'm expanding. So even the basis of my branding and my community and what I do is based off of my essence. And I've broken down to simplify my essence or authenticity or the shit that marketers and PR people talk about every day and social media influencers talk about, to understanding what truly is my essence. I have skills that are mine, just like my fingerprint. I have knowledge of what and who. Nobody else has the same knowledge as me. Nobody else has the same skills as me. Just like nobody else has the same fingerprint as me. And then finally, I have my own desires. Nobody else has the exact same desires as me. We might both like a tomahawk steak. That's one desire that we have. But you like French fries and I like mashed potatoes. I guarantee it. And so if we look at the universe expanding and ourself expanding, then we can say to ourselves, how am I expanding my skills? How am I expanding my knowledge of what and who? And how am I expanding my desire? All three will make me more capable of making more money, helping more people, and having fun, but also will provide me more options, opportunities, and touches of favor. So I'm not transitioning into something or out of something. But I can take his son, who's a Major League Baseball player, pitcher, really good one. And I could sit down with him, and after about 30 minutes, tell him how he's not going to ever transition out of baseball. He'll expand into more. Baseball will still be there. He would just have expanded his skills into being a general manager, or a coach, or a facility executive, or a president of the United States. Whatever it is, Ronald Reagan expanded his skills, his knowledge, and desire to be the president of the United States from cowboy movies. He didn't transition into politics.
How do you manage that in startups, David, when you're looking at a project that's very personal to begin with, but you start building a really credible team, but their transition is a little different than your vision?
Their expansion.
Their expansion.
Yes.
It's a little different than your vision. We're in this moment right now where we have a really great product that has this super high potential, but we have to take baby steps to get there. And it's kind of protecting the brand vision that I originally had as a founder, and then the reality of the people that are telling, different versions, their energy that they're trying to put in. How do you manage those without putting them off, but still staying strong to what the original founding idea that brought them to the project?
Yeah, so three things you need to focus in on. One, you have to keep the values aligned, not the vision. You got to keep the values aligned. So the values of my company, which are repetitive every single day and 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, that I either make interns recite to me or my employees tell me, or on Wednesday, which is a shorter meeting, that I teach the values. Gratitude, empathy, accountability, and effective communication. Gratitude gives you perspective. Empathy gives you forgiveness and peace or ease. Accountability gives us control. And effective communication keeps us inspired, applying our why. If I can keep everyone in my company aligned with having the right perspective to find light, love, and lessons in everything without judgment, the opinion that's based off of ignorance and fear, if I can create ease for everyone, which creates more productivity and accessibility, if I can create accountability, which gives them more confidence because they feel like they're in control, because they know that they're responsible to learn, they're attracting what they learn, and they're participating in the perception based off of the values to learn. And then they can effectively communicate with one another the vision. First thing is values, repetitive, concentrated alignment and values. The second one is the daily activities have to be aligned. The daily activities, and so for me, I want everyone to know the trajectory today, not tomorrow, not what I told you 10 days ago. Because I know the trajectory of my business in Sports One Marketing changed when they closed the NBA. And I realized I have a multi-million-dollar business with world-famous people that is based off of the Super Bowl, the Pro Bowl, the Masters, Kentucky Derby, Breeders' Cup, ESPYs, Emmys, Oscars, and Grammys, and they just have closed all of them. So when I found out at my son's baseball game on March 16th or 17th, whatever day that dummy was joking around, spitting on, the NBA star, and then they said, nope, NBA's closed. I woke up the next morning and said, considering everything that's going on today, realistically, knowing the meaning, the light, the love, and the lessons of my past, the defining moments, setbacks, failures, mistakes, historical references of my past, what is my trajectory of the future? Because it was a different trajectory. And then I came into the company and I said, let's start and review the values. Gratitude, empathy, accountability, effective communication. We have a different trajectory today. Knowing that our trajectory is what we think we want today as a team, as a company, as a consciousness, or better, considering what's going on today, that we got to leave the office, it may never come back to the office, we got to make sure we say, I want to make sure everyone's paid. I'm not interested in profit, I'm interested in paid. The day before, and the 20 years previously, at Lee Steinberg in Sports One Marketing, my trajectory was profit. It instantly changed that day. Our trajectory is to use our skills, our knowledge, and desire to make sure everyone's paid and to be healthy. And so we all said, okay, considering what our trajectory of where we want to be or better, to get paid, to stay open, to wait this thing out, what do we want to do today in that trajectory, personally, experientially, giving and receiving wise? Who can we help with that new trajectory, which was completely different than the day before, dramatically different, considering my business was around the Super Bowl, Pro Bowl, Masters, Kentucky Derby, Breeders' Cup, ESPYs, Emmys, Oscars, and Grammys, and many more, which they closed within 24 hours, a period when I had to stand in front of my company of 100 people and say, what are we going to do today? Who can we help? Who can help us? Now, how are we going to get that done with these lenses of productivity, accessibility, and gratitude, with the activities we have planned today, with the space in the calendar, I call it the activity that we don't have planned, and our sleep. Let's divide out what activity we can get paid at, because that's the trajectory I want to be on, not profit. But during COVID, it was just, let's get paid so that everybody will be in a better place when we get out of here.
It's like a startup founder position.
It was. And then the activity I don't get paid for. My family changed, right? And then you talk about whether you're a victim in a 2 world or a 4 world or a more than enough world. I immediately, in my mindset, realized by day 2, when my girls came home from college, and all of a sudden I'm sitting with 6 people at my table, and my niece, who was by herself living in Hollywood, asked if she could come live with us. Now I'm sitting with dinners going, oh, how did I miss this? By the end of COVID, I literally will tell you, and I get choked up because it was such an unbelievable experience, that somebody could offer me a sideline pass to the Super Bowl, or all 7 of those people would say, no, Dad, we want you to be home for dinner. I choose that. Because I know what I want today, who I can help, who can help me, how best I was going to get it done in the trajectory of what I thought I want. Then I can prioritize. You see, in your business right now, and many other people just living their lives, they don't know how to prioritize, which results in the two things that hold people back: feeling overwhelmed or procrastinating. The one that really pisses me off is feeling overwhelmed, because you cannot feel overwhelmed unless you have too much in your life. So it's counterintuitive to me that, oh, I have too many options, opportunities, and touches of favor, therefore I'm fucked. It doesn't make any sense, right? For me, I'm like, no, you're not. You just need to learn to prioritize, and you can't prioritize unless what? You know what's important to you. You can't know what's important to you if you take it to the past or the future. You have to look at, what do I want today? Who can I help? Who can help me? And how to get that done? Learning from the past, giving meaning to my bankruptcy. Not that I'm being punished, but I was protected and promoted, because I give the meaning of my bankruptcy is, it gave me a chance to take a breath and look at what I was really aggregating in my life, what outcomes I was exponentially gaining in my life, what acceleration I was taking, what direction of acceleration.
So let's say you're the Ferrari.
Student, it's different than being a master. I'm studying, I'm paying attention, giving intention to the coincidences I want with the 24 hours of man-made constructive time. Student.
That's a big difference. You're like, obviously you've been practicing for so long. Yeah, let's go just to one step next. What is what we think we can do every day to think about the priorities that we can practice for ourselves?
3 non-negotiables. Pick 3 non-negotiables every day and put a time onto it. So what I did is I said, okay, I'm gonna give a minimum of an hour a day on my health. And when I say non-negotiables, I'm saying that put the energy into your health that you would if you put, for like me, my favorite athlete of all time. If someone called me today and said, hey, LeBron James wants to have dinner with you at 6 p.m. LeBron James, I would cancel this. As much as, I'm just sorry, I would call them and tell them the truth that I have wanted to have dinner with LeBron James, and I'm gonna have dinner with LeBron James. Sorry, I can't make it. I might call Charlie and tell him to go in my place, because I'm nice. That's the way I treat my health every day. And all the things to be healthy, my balance, my stretching, my meditation is before that, which I don't even count in there. When I don't want to do it, I say, LeBron James, if LeBron James said, hey, I want to work out with you today at 4:30, would you be in your garage? But we don't do that. We don't put the same importance. When I say non-negotiable, so what do? Oh, I can't do that because of this. I turn down my children until I get that hour and make sure I have that hour. Then comes my family. Minimum 30 minutes with my wife, minimum of 30 minutes with my son, minimum of 2 minutes with the 24, 22, and 19-year-olds. Minimum. People get me shit on social. You only spend 2 minutes with your daughter. Even if I did, I'm still probably spending more time than most dads. But I spend more if they give it to me. But 2 minutes a day is worth more than 2 hours on a Saturday if you understand physics and how energy, time, aggregates, compounds. I tell my mom 4 things every day that exponentially has changed my relationship. Because I appreciate you, that I'm so healthy, happy, and that I love you. My mom used to make me do the worst bullshit to prove that I was happy, healthy, loved, and appreciated her. She would call me, I'm like the anti-handyman. And I can afford to pay anyone to fix my mom's screen door. But I would go drive down to San Diego an hour, sometimes 2 in traffic, show up so I could prove to my mom that I loved her, appreciated her, that I was happy and healthy. Now I just let her know every day.
You pay for somebody to fix the screen door.
And I pay for someone to fix the screen, gladly. So non-negotiables, that's the starting of prioritization. If you can learn to handle 3 non-negotiables, I do health, family, and then I study my calendar. Because that one helps me with everything. So if no matter what, I study my calendar for a minimum of 10 minutes in the day. At least today. Now, sometimes I spend a lot of time studying the calendar. And I'm looking around, I'm paying attention and giving intention. So I say to myself in my calendar, okay, what am I doing, saying, thinking, believing, and feeling in the trajectory of where I want to be with this amount of time? I'm studying it that way. I know that I'm a bag of beliefs, and so are you. And the bag of beliefs that I am determine my past and my future, but they also will lead me in a direction of what to do, say, think, and feel in the day with my time. Because time's relative. You know, if I'm interesting, this could be the fastest meetup of your life. If you're not interested in what I'm saying, you'd be like, that was like 6 hours. One of my friends was here earlier, he was like, yeah, you know, I'm just starting speaking, Dave, and I went to high school. When you speak in front of a high school kids, it feels like a 2-hour speech. And I'm like, Nick, how much time's gone by? He's like, 10 minutes. I'm like, oh shit. Like there's only so long like kids can be like looking down like this while you're talking. Right? And so non-negotiables is the first step, and then 5 daily practices of understanding the what, the who, the how, the now, and applying your why. And I'm just getting better. They're practices for me too. Meditation is a practice. Identifying fear is a practice. Practice my daily practices. Practice being a student in the calendar.
Spirituality is a practice.
Everything to me is a practice. That's why I think golf's such a great sport to have your kids play, because it's all about practice. And you never can perfect it. And so the more you practice, you know, on average, this is how golf works, just like life. And this is why it's so hard, is that if you keep practicing, you know, this is your baseline. And you get these days, and then these days, and then these days, just like golf. But slowly but surely, that baseline keeps going up. And so these days get higher, and these days get higher. And pretty soon, you know, your old peaks are your baseline. That's just a matter of behavior being an energy, behavior aggregating, compounding exponentially, and accelerating, which allows you to witness the outcomes that you're already getting from good behavior. Good behavior gives you good progress, bad behavior gives you bad progress. Why is that dangerous? Because human beings cannot see instant progress. So they think that good behavior should result in outcomes that are good, and they should be aware of those outcomes that are good, and bad behavior creates outcomes that you should be able to be aware of, but you don't. So you continually to smoke your whole life, and 19 years into it, you tell all your friends, hey man, I've been, you know, chewing tobacco, smoking since we were kids. Look at me, nothing. And then they're super surprised 9 months later when they have terminal cancer. That wasn't in 9 months. It was aggregating. It was compounding exponentially. It's just human awareness can't see the progress. So instead for me, I'm like, hey, I know how physics work. I know that if I have good behaviors, it's only one thing that's gonna happen, good progress. And yes, in reality, what I'm aware of, just like with golf, how the hell did I shoot a 101? Oh shit, I'm gonna quit practicing golf. Or, oh man, I'm not practicing, but I shot a 74. I don't need to practice. This is how human beings are. But in the end, the person that doesn't practice, slowly but surely, the peaks are gonna go down and the lowers are gonna go down, and it keeps aggregating. It's gonna happen exponentially and faster, and pretty soon, you're just gonna suck all the time. Good behavior is something to be aware of. All right, next question. Yes, sir.
Why are you so driven? Are you just a force or a loving force, or what is it that causes you to want it to be at this level of existence?
Yeah, I get emotional about it, because I told my wife today, because I vacation every day, so I was my wife's 4th choice at the tea house in San Juan Capistrano. Her aunt said no, her 3 friends said no, and so she said, hey, I'm a priority for you. Can I take my time with you to go to the tea house? That's a priority. It's a non-negotiable. I was speaking tonight. We had a different plan of when we were going to spend our minimum of 30 minutes together. So I said, yeah, you know, and I moved a couple calls around and did whatever I needed to do, because that was my priority. Just to give you an example of prioritization. So we're at dang, and I'm feeling blessed, but I'm enjoying myself so much. The human nature comes into my mind, like, why the fuck am I doing this every single day, 7 days a week? I spent an hour on Instagram Live, and then I have an hour show. I'm not getting paid anything for this, and I have enough money where I don't need to get paid anything for it. That's why I do it. But like, why can't I just, hang out with my wife? Like, are my priorities wrong? And like any human being, I'm questioning my trajectory because I was so enjoying perfect day in California after hurricanes and earthquakes and the travel I'm doing. And I'm sitting in this like beautiful spot and there's no other husbands with their wives at lunch. And I'm thinking, I can afford to do this every day or something like it. What am I thinking? And there's no, there's no accidents as I'm thinking this, right? The universe is getting me to think, right? And then the owner of the restaurant comes over when I gave her my bill and said, I thought you were Mr. Meltzer. I don't want to interrupt your wonderful lunch with your wife, but I have 2 young men that work for me and they're dying to meet you. And I was like, man, okay. All the ladies at the tea house are like, who the fuck is this guy? Is that John? They're like, is that John Lovitz? He lost a lot of weight. And so these 2 brothers come over as if I am Warren Moon. Something that I had experienced my whole career and an aspiration that I could impact people to look up to like a Warren Moon. Mr. Moon, I'm going to be a black quarterback, Mr. Moon. I don't care what it takes. I saw it with Troy Aikman, Steve Young, Lennox Lewis, Evander, John Randall, like amazing guys. And here were these 2 young guys. And they're like, we don't want to bother you, but we just had to tell you, thank you. We watch everything. You are so inspiring. We're going to be something. We're going to make a lot of money. Hell of a lot. Where I was sitting going like, yeah, I know why I'm doing this. And anytime I question why I'm doing this because I'm having a great time with my kids, I also know that my purpose, my mission is not only to make my family a non-negotiable, not only to make my health a non-negotiable, not only to utilize time in a productive, accessible, and gracious manner, but to empower others, And I'm blessed. It's not one person in a life. There's many. I've studied many religions, right? If you can change one life, you've lived yours. That's not where I'm living right now. There's a bunch of those kids. I've been in Bali, and the guy that took my bag just like freaked out. I was in Riyadh, and some guy from Cameroon. I felt like Eddie Murphy in that movie Coming to America. He literally dropped to his knees. I thought Jake was effing with me. I'm like, did you pay this? Oh my God, David Meltzer. Oh my God, I started a venture capital in the Cameroon. I have changed 100 companies. We raised $40 million. Thank you, right? Anytime I think like you, why the fuck would you do this, man? That's why. Because I am on a mission that's beyond me. And I have skills, knowledge, and desire to help others. To change the world. Great question. Just before I go to bed, to remember, remind, recollect that source of faith, that I'm here, protected and promoted and grateful. Not just for the things that I wanted or better, but for the shit that I didn't want. Like my bankruptcy, or the abuse that I put myself through, or the trauma I experienced when I was 9, or growing up poor, or whatever it is. So that was the habit I'm most proud of, and I try to teach other people as well. The habit that's most difficult for me is eating fast. So I've really focused in on this because some people have asked me this question. What I realized is I grew up really poor. I had this great mom, and she was a great cook. So it wasn't a matter of that. It was just sometimes we were on food stamps, or my mom tried to treat us. She would go to McDonald's and order 2 large French fries and pour them in a bowl, thinking that somehow this was rewarding me, especially because I love McDonald's, and she'd push them to the middle of the table, and it was pretty much like a, pig trough, right, on those French fries. But what happened was I started realizing that I have this scarce energy of not enough. that there's still this energy that I carry. And so I'm eating really fast, which causes me to eat too much. So even though health is my number one non-negotiable, even though I'm eating healthy foods, you drink enough water, you'll kill yourself. And water is really healthy. So I'm least proud of myself because with all the teaching I do about behaviors and disciplines, it's still the one that it's not like, oh my God, I fell off the wagon one day. It's constantly every week like, oh shit, slow down. There's plenty of food.
Where are you in the order of your siblings?
I was middle high, so third.
You had some people to pick on if you needed.
Yeah.
Push them out.
I got plenty of food, but I was definitely an aggressive eater. Yes. So to that realm, right, I always use time as a quantitative dependent variable of all matter in my life. So I have a need to be offended. And I have spent days, weeks, months, and years being offended. I always said it's the worst thing to have. If you want to be offended, walk outside. It'll be easy. So I started using time saying, I'm not going to spend days, weeks, months, and years. When I feel offended, I'm going to see how fast I can get back to being grateful. So I now am capable of get offended every day. Every day. But I don't waste the time, emotion, value, because I use time and I use my competitive nature to get better at it. Because it's the only way you can say, oh, I feel guilty. How do I get rid of guilt? You can't. It's an ego-based consciousness that you prescribe to fear. How do I get rid of offense? You can't. It's an ego consciousness that you prescribe to a fear. But I will tell you what you can do. Lessen the time that it takes when you're offended to get back to center. And that will help you exponentially. So I use time to say, whoa, I'm back. I was frustrated, I was angry. It only took me like 2 minutes before nobody would know that I was frustrated or angry or resentful or guilty or separate or inferior or superior or depressed or whatever else. You're gonna get kicked in the face. How did you get back up after you lost everything? And I don't put a quantitative measurement when people say like, I lost everything, Dave, can you help me? But it wasn't as much as you. And I'm like, it's not a matter how much you lost, it's having nothing, right? It's the same feeling. If all you had was $100 and you don't have it anymore, I would think it actually hurts more. I had made all that money. I didn't lose, when we talk about expansion, skills, knowledge, and desire, I didn't lose my skills, I didn't lose my knowledge, and I had more desire. And a different desire. I made $1 million 9 months out of law school with $100,000 of law loans, no connections at all, no experience at all. I wasn't worried about making the money back. I wanted to utilize my skills, knowledge, and desire in the right trajectory. So how did I do it? I got laser focused in on what I wanted. I didn't have all the daily practices, but every day I woke up and said, this is what I want personally, experientially, giving and receiving wise. And at that time, it was a weighted balance. I wanted financial security back. I wanted to be able to say yes to my children because I never had that as a child. I still get emotional because I tell my children every day, just like I tell my mom something every day, I tell my children, I'm proud of you, I love you, and I always have your back. And my wife's like, why'd you choose those 3 things? Because it's what I wanted my dad to tell me. Never. My dad never told me that. 55-year-old, still get choked up about it. So I wanted to be able to say yes. And every day I studied time, and I said, this is what I want. I want financial security. And Bob Proctor was my mentor. So one of the ways I got where I got the second daily practice is, who can I help and who can help me get to where I want to be? And Bob Proctor was one of those guys. Wayne Dyer was another one. So I went to Bob Proctor, I went to Wayne Dyer, and I said, I got to change the way I look at things. I got to change my relationship with money. Give me direction. I will do it. I did it when on the football field, I gave 100% and I followed direction. I just wasn't very good. I got to a high level of potential for me, but it wasn't very good overall. But when I utilized it to make money, I'd always been good at that. And so for me, the days I didn't want to get up, I literally used 2 rules. The Rocky rule, which I learned the day I didn't want to get out of bed, and I somehow the universe put Rocky on the TV, and he was getting his ass kicked in Rocky 1, and he was just down, and I saw him. They're like, remember, stay down, Rock. And he could look up, he could get up. That's all I told myself. I can look up, I can get up. And then I said, I still use this one today to work out. First 5 minutes suck. You can quit after 5 minutes, but you're gonna get up. You can quit after 5 minutes. When I run, sometimes I do not want to run. I'll tell myself, after 5 minutes of running, you can stop and walk back home. First 5 minutes suck. And the older you get, in some of the things, they really suck. But I've never stopped after 5 minutes, and I've never finished and said to myself, gosh, I wish I didn't do that. I wish I didn't work out. I wish I didn't eat slow, right? When I did what I said. But the first 5 minutes sometimes really suck. But if I can look up, I can get up. That's motivation. Inspiration is getting through the first 5 minutes.